Man no longer sees God. He no longer sees his fellow man. The only reality is man himself. Man, in his own knowledge, now finds the reverse image of the fall. He constructs a world for himself, his own world, and in this world he finds himself trapped. The machine, once his servant, now enslaves him. The more he gains power, the less he is free. This is the image of man, godlike in knowledge, but imprisoned by the very powers he sought to command. These words were written by German theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer in the year 1933. Nearly a century ago, long before smartphones, artificial intelligence, or digital surveillance, Bonhoeffer described the condition of modern man with chilling clarity. A man who built the world in his own image and finds himself imprisoned by it. How is it that a theologian speaking from the chaos of 1930s Germany could so precisely diagnose the spiritual crisis of our time? Bonhoeffer was born in 1906, into a Germany that was at the height of its modernity and cultural impact. At the time, the German Empire was an industrial and cultural superpower. Its railroads were the envy of Europe. Its universities produced some of the world's greatest scientists. Berlin was a hub of finance, innovation, and avant-garde culture. It was, in many ways, the Silicon Valley of its era. Bonhoeffer's own family reflected this high achievement. His father, Karl Bonhoeffer, was one of the leading psychiatrists of the time. Their home was filled with music, literature, and academic debate. He grew up among rationalists, skeptics, scientists, and yet it was the spiritual silence beneath all this brilliance that most disturbed him. Bonhoeffer watched a world that believed it could master reality, but that mastery, he realized, came at a cost. Man, in his own knowledge, now finds the reverse image of the fall. And yet man cannot escape this world. He has eaten of the tree. He knows good and evil. He must act. He must judge. He must decide. But this acting, judging, and deciding are carried out in the absence of the Creator and in the absence of the other. Once man has cast out God, the responsibility of judgment doesn't disappear, it only shifts inward. We now decide what is good, what is evil, what is true, not through divine revelation or communal tradition, but through self-authentication, algorithmic consensus, or raw assertion of power. We are expected to form strong opinions on every global crisis, tweet, and moral dilemma in real time, without the wisdom, love, or limits of the divine. This is the unbearable burden of modern freedom. We must play God, but without God's heart, and we must do it alone. Bonhoeffer understood this loneliness not as psychological, but as spiritual. When the Creator is absent, the other becomes invisible too. Dialogue collapses. Justice becomes performance. Morality becomes spectacle. This is why our public debates feel so bitter, why we rarely change each other's minds, why our choices feel hollow even when we get what we want. Without God and without community, all we have is the self, judging, deciding, consuming. Man's flight from the presence of the Creator leads not only into the unnatural, but also into the inhuman. The fall is not only the falling away from the Creator, but also the disintegration of the creature. Community is lost. This, for Bonhoeffer, is the final and most tragic consequence of the fall. Not just disobedience, not just pride, but the disintegration of relationship. When a man becomes like God, he becomes unlike man. He no longer sees others as fellow beings. He sees tools, rivals, consumers, or shadows of himself. We now live in a world of radical connectivity, but little communion. A world of shared screens but lonely hearts. Our technologies give us the illusion of relationship without the burden of commitment. We perform intimacy without vulnerability. We broadcast feelings without ever being seen. Community doesn't survive in this world. Not real community. The kind rooted in grace, dependence, and mutual forgiveness. Bonhoeffer believed that the fall was not just the loss of paradise. It was the loss of being human altogether. Bonhoeffer's life ended in 1945, hanged by the Nazis for resisting Hitler. He didn't live to see the internet, artificial intelligence, or the hyper-modern world we now inhabit. And yet his warnings echo louder today than ever before. But Bonhoeffer didn't just warn. He also pointed to a way out. He believed salvation begins not with more control, but with surrender. Not with becoming more godlike, but with becoming more creaturely. To be human for Bonhoeffer was to live in relationship with God, with others, with creation. To receive life as a gift, not seize it as a project. To see others not as tools or threats, but as sacred companions. This isn't nostalgia, it's restoration. A return to reality, not as we define it, but as it is. We became like gods and forgot how to be human. Bonhoeffer's words call us back to humility, to limits, to love. To a world where we are not creators of truth, but creatures of grace. In that world there is still freedom, but is not the freedom of domination. It is the freedom of being known and loved and real.